And the main purpose of this survey was then to predict and identify the potential winners, as he rightly put it. The survey was conducted between 17th October and 2nd November this year. In all, we entered 276 constituencies. So we entered all the constituencies, and we interviewed or we engaged 29,029 Ghanaian voters from all the 276 constituencies on these major issues. The voting history of the voters over the past two election cycles, readiness to vote if elections were held during the day of the interview, voter choice between the two main presidential candidates, and also the voter choice for the parliamentary candidates. So these were the four main issues that we looked at. Now, methodology. When it comes to methodology for surveys, two key issues are very, very important. And so anytime you hear somebody has conducted a survey and you really want to know whether or not the survey is credible, two things are very, very important. And I want the media to take it out. The first one is the sample size determination. And the second is sampling frame. And so you don't do survey and then you go out there, you tell people, I interviewed 10, I interviewed 10,000. No. Whatever number that you interview must be statistically reasonable. And so for this particular survey, we set ourselves to use confidence level of 99 and then margin of error of 1. When you use margin of error of 1, what we are saying is that if we predict somebody is going to have 51, it means that the person is likely to have anything between 52 and 50. That is plus or minus 1. And so that's what it means. And so we use a margin of error of 1, and therefore if we say candidate A is having 10, it is possible that candidate A could have between 9 and 11. That's what it means. Now, when we did that, and we used the national voter population of 18.6 million, sample calculator suggested that we should interview maximum of 16,000. Maximum of 16,000. And so the maximum of 16,000, we did what we call proportionate sampling. And when you did proportionate sampling, the constituencies with higher voter population, we were advised to select 105 from these constituencies, and those with lower numbers we were selecting as low as 8 from some of the constituencies. We've done this before, and so we were thinking that it's not worth it to travel all the way, for example, from Accra to Banda to conduct research, Banda constituency, and you're going to interview only 8 people. And so in order to make it very robust, over the time, what we do is that once we get to know the highest possible number of voters that should be interviewed per the constituencies with the larger numbers, then we try to square it up and interview the same number of voters for all the constituencies. And so what we did was that we entered the constituency, and as soon as we entered there, let me say earlier, the system had selected 5 electoral areas. So we randomly selected 5 electoral areas. After that, the selected electoral area, we also randomly would select 3 polling stations from this particular electoral area. And then the selected polling station, we randomly selected 7 voters and engaged with them. And so if you look at this mathematics, what it tells you is that in all, we entered 1,380 electoral areas out of the total 6,272 electoral areas in the country. And we also entered 4,140 polling stations out of the total of 40,976 polling stations. And if you look at the mathematics, the number would have been, or should have been, 28,980. In other words, if you interview 105 from each constituency, and we have 276 constituencies, you multiply, and that gives you 28,980. Yeah, but the enumerators were very magnanimous, and so they ended up bringing us 29,029. And so the limitation for this study, and this is very important we discuss the limitation first before we tell you the results. The limitation for this study is that we oversampled for the constituencies with lower voter population. Let me repeat. The limitation for this study is that we oversampled for the constituencies with lower voter population. Yeah, but someone will ask, is that a problem? Yes, it can be, but as far as we are concerned, our experience tells us that it doesn't matter. More is better. Indeed, it would have been far better if we had had opportunity to interview all the over 18.6 million voters to seek their opinion. But that would have been census. This is survey, and in survey, you are not able to do that. And so the higher the number, the higher, the robust, the more robust will be the outcome. And as for that matter, having oversampling for the smaller, for the constituencies with lower voter population is not a problem. It is not a problem because in the year 2020, we did say and we predicted accurately. Let me repeat. In the year 2020, we got it very right. And those of you who watch UTV, do we have UTV or Peace FM here? Yeah, so Peace FM, UTV, 6 December 2020, in the evening, I was the host for the program was, what's the name? Vim Lady, Afia Pukuya. So Afia Pukuya hosted Professor Jampo and myself to discuss the elections as to who was likely to be the winner. And that particular day, based on the research that we have done, I declared that Nana Akufo-Addo was going to win 51%. Not only that, I said the difference between Nana Akufo-Addo and John Dramani Mahama was going to be 520,000. And if you check the figures, we got it almost right. I also predicted at the time MPP had 169 MPs. I predicted that the number was going to drop to 144. Maybe we didn't get it so right. At the end of the day, we had 137. But even that, you see, we were very close to what really happened. And what we are going to share with you today, we use the same sampling process. And we hope that what we have seen that we're going to share with you is exactly what is going to happen on 7th December 2024. Yes, so another thing, demographic information. Before we share the results, we want to share a few things with you. Demographic information. Why is it important? Why it is important is that when the enumerators entered the polling stations, they were not supposed to interview particular category of people. For example, I'm going to interview all males, all females, all farmers, or people of the same educational background, or people of the same religious affiliation. No, we train them to blend so that, Ghana, for every one woman you meet, there is a man. Ghana, the population is 52 for female and 48 for the male. And so we train them in such a way that for every 100 people they interview, 48 of them should be what? Males and 52 females. Again, the age, the income level and all those things, we train them so they could get it right. Now, in order for us to believe in what we have done, we needed to look at who they interviewed. And if you look on the board there, you will see that they interviewed 13,965 out of the 29,029, 13,965 were females, males, and 15,064 were females. And this is very consistent with the national data on gender. And so that tells you that they got it right on the field. Now, the next one is the age group. And if you look at the national voter, the distribution of age group for the national voter population, you realize that between the age groups of 18-24, the numbers are low. But as you go forward, between 36, 40 years, we get to the peak, and then we begin to descend. And so, if somebody tells you that I have gone to do a survey on Ghanaian voter population, we expect to see this picture. And indeed, that's actually what they got it for us. And this confirms that the sampling was robust. The next is the educational level, and that is also very consistent with the national data on the educational attainment at the national level. The next is occupation. In Ghana, we know the two predominant occupations are trading and farming. And here we see that for every 100 they interviewed, 27 of them were engaged in farming, and for every 100 they interviewed, again 27 as well were also engaged in trading. And it is also true that more women are always into trading, and more men than women are also into farming. And so this mimics the situation at the national level, and as for that matter, we can use this to say, yes, they did a very good job. Religious affiliation as well. Ghana, 71 out of every 100 are Christians. And for this particular data, they got 76. 76 out of 100 were Christians. And 76, 71, not too different. That tells you that they also did very well as far as this particular variable is concerned. Then when it comes to the income, for every 28 out of 100 they interviewed, they said that they earn income less than 500 cedis a month, less than 500 cedis a month, and that is the national picture. In fact, indeed, only 0.2% would earn income of 10,000 Ghana cedis in a month, and this is exactly consistent. I should say this is very consistent with the situation at the national level. Now, trend of voting. The trend of voting, in order that we will still believe in the data, we went on to ask them whether or not they voted or they participated in the 2016 general elections. And again, we went on to ask them about the 2020. And based on that, based on what they told us, we then compare the results with what the EC brought out to check whether or not when they went to the field, they indeed engaged the right people. And so the very first question was, did you vote in 2016? And here, 18 out of every 100 of them said they didn't vote. For the 18, most of them were not of 18 years at the time. And so 82 who today are still with us and voting said that they actually voted in 2016. Now, we asked them, if you voted, which political party's presidential candidate did you vote for? And we have 54 for MPP, and 46 for 54 for MPP, 40-something for NDC. Sorry, I'm not saying that here. Yeah, but 54 for MPP. You want to compare with what happened. Indeed, MPP had 53.7 in 2016. 53.7, and when you round that off, you get 54. And so what this is suggesting is that the whole sampling was not skewed in favor of any political party. And they did a very good job on the field. We went on to ask questions about the year 2020. And so the question was, did you vote in 2020 general elections? And here, 4 things said no. 2016 it was what? 18. Now it had dropped to what? 14. Which means that if we had asked about 2012, it would have been higher. Yeah, because the 2012 the number had dropped to 14, from 18 to 14, because this time about 4% of them, most of them had been 18 and they voted. That's why the number had dropped. Now we went on to ask them, if you really voted, which political party's presidential candidate did you vote for? And NPP had 53. This is where I think we got it wrong, because NPP actually had 51%, and so the difference was about 2 percentage points, which is quite huge, because we are talking about error margin of what? 1%, okay? But because the other one was so, I'm in research, you don't get things, the other one, we got it so well, the 2016, and so the 2020, there was a little bit deviation, 51, 53, yeah. But even this, we will say that the sampling wasn't skewed in favor of any particular political party. One very important thing that we went on to ask was the main issues that motivate them to vote. The main issue that would motivate them to vote. And one of it was, I am a member of the political party. So Ghana, one of the key reasons why we vote is because of our political party's affiliation. I belong to CPP, and I must vote at all costs. Even when I'm sick, I have to get up and vote. And so that is the first thing people consider, your affiliation to political party. Another thing that I think influenced the people to vote in 2020 was mostly the free education and good educational policies. Maybe they are talking about free SHS policy. It has started. It has been implemented at the time. The whole policy was implemented in 2017. So by 2018, we were into about the third or fourth year of implementation, and people loved it. And so that motivating quite a higher proportion, 15.3 of them, that is 15 out of every 100, went out to vote because of the free SHS. Another thing is the family party. So 13 out of 100. This is my family party. I belong to this particular ethnic group or this particular group, and this has been our political party. I have to go out there and vote. And so these are some of the reasons why we vote. And at this juncture, I want to pause here and invite Professor Isaac Bodi, to continue to tell us what we want to hear. Who is going to win? Over here.
Good morning, esteemed media partners and our guests on the TV stations and brothers and sisters at home. What we do here, what we are doing here, we need to be honest with data. My good friend, Dr. Donfair, started giving you the structure of the data, and that is what we do in research. If you want to present any findings and you have conducted a research, you give the demographic background and tells you the structure of the entire data that you are speaking to. And that was exactly what he did. My task is very simple, is to give you projections for the 2024 presidential context. We need to put in the right perspective. We are not to declare winners. We are telling you potentially who are likely to win. So it should be very important that we understand this. So potential winners. We have projections for 2024 presidential context. Following this, the same plan or the same argument, my good friend took you through previous elections, and he gave a figure of 2016, 2020, and now my task is to give you 2024. And the key question that we ask, you need to ask this question before you go into the target. Are you ready to vote in 2024 general elections? And the feedback we got, 89% said yes. 7% out of 100 said no. 4% said, I don't know. Well, when you get this background, you need to go on and ask another question. Will you vote in the general election on 7th of December? And we had to do this by regions. And out of the regions, we can give you the entire figure for the country. So in terms of regions, Western region, the summation should give you 100, 100, 100. The person that we asked the question, I don't know, who answered 1.1%. So Western region stands at 95.8. It tells you the number of people who are prepared to vote. Followed by, I think, 95, we have 97.1 Savannah. Then we have 95.7 from Volta region. And Greater Accra is 88.9. Eastern region, 81.6. Ashanti region, 84.4. Western North, 93.3. So it follows in this order. Clearly you can see the regions that will be voting on that day well. So that is by regions. Now when it comes to a question that was asked, if presidential elections were held today, which political party candidate will you vote for? Key question, important question. And I'm sure this is where the meat is. Per the result, let's also watch the first sentence, the question, the answer given. Will not vote at all. The figure there is 2.9. I'm trying to emphasize on these two numbers because it will play a key role going forward. Will not tell you or undecided, that is 2.6. Let's take note of the two numbers. And then we jump all the way. We are not being biased, but our focus, originally will be on two traditional parties, NDC and MPP, and that's what we see down there. National Democratic Congress Party stands at 44.7. And New Patriotic Party, our good friend, Baumia, also stands at 47.3. So obviously it tells you here, is it one touch? Is it one touch? It is possible. Well, that's a comment from my good friend. But here, it tells you you need to have 50 points a number before. But before I come back to that, let's see the regional breakdowns before we come back to that figure again. Which political party candidate will you vote for? This is also by regions. And clearly you see Western region 47, and you see the blue ones are will be for MPP, and then the red one will be for NDC. So you go through the numbers. The total is the one down there. That's 47.3 and 44.7. So you could go through region by region. Western region 47.4, meaning that more people are likely to vote for the MPP against the NDC. And then we have 51 Central region as against 44 for NDC. Greater Accra region, which is traditional strength region, and everyone is praying that you get grapes of Greater Accra region. But here, the figure we have is 43.4, and then 46, very close in Greater Accra. But let's also have this idea, or let me say this, that for Greater Accra, the entire result, it is as at October and a part of November. So if you want to take a picture, the picture tells you as at that time. we have other weeks ahead of us. This likely will change. Voter region is 10 for MPP, and then 84 for NDC. Eastern, 57.2, 34.7. Ashanti, 61.6, 27.6 for NDC. So it follows like that all the way to the total number, giving us a summation of the entire figure we mentioned. Now, let me go back to this. It's very important that I stress it, emphasize on this. The first one, 2.9, and then 2.6. These are individuals who, on that day, will say no, will not vote at all. We are not decided. If you decide to back the two numbers out, it changes. The results, it changes. If you say that 2.9 and 2.6, you back the two numbers out, the results likely to change. So that moves us into the next slide, which considers those who on that day are likely to vote. And it stands MPP, Dr. Baumia, now crosses the threshold of 50.2. And then our NDC, good friends, also will have 47.3. GUM, 0.4, and that number will follow all the way. Sometimes you get even zero in the numbers. But it all will boil down to 27. We earlier used 29,000. So when we take the two extremes out, the number obviously will drop. So it gives you a total figure of 27,445. So our statement, or per the result that we are projecting, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia will secure 50.2 to win in the first round. I gave a condition. If you back the two numbers out, that is what will stand. And I think in the statistics or figures, we could be right. Then, in terms of age bracket per the voting pattern, you can see from the slides that voters within the age groups of 18 to 24 years and 61 and above likely to vote overwhelmingly for Dr. Mahmoud Baumia if elections were held today, the day of the interview. It tells you a story, but we happen to be consultants. We are unable to go through what could be the reasons, but you be the best judge. That this group of people, 18 to 24, are likely to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Then, in terms of level of income, a higher proportion of voters who earn below 1,000 in a month prefer Mahama to Baumia. And you can see from the top, those who earn more, the case is the opposite. They are likely to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Then for ethnicity, the group, whilst greater proportion of members of the Akan ethnic group prefer Mahmoud Baumia to Mahama, a higher proportion of members of all the other major ethnic groups, and we've mentioned them, the Guans, the Grusi, the Molid, the Bani, the Mendi, would have voted for Baumia to become the next president. So that is Mahama to become the president if the nod is given. So that is the pattern in terms of ethnicity. We are giving you this background for you to appreciate that apart from getting the total value, it's good to do some segmental presentation as well. In terms of occupation, and this is very important as well, in terms of occupation, from the result, what farmers and unemployed prefer Mahama to become the next president, it's important to emphasize the students, public servants, civil servants, artisans, and teachers would have voted for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Let me emphasize this. Whilst farmers and unemployed prefer our president, former President Mahama, students, civil servants, the public servants, artisans, they prefer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. On the issue of level of education, esteemed media partners, it is important to understand that farmers, this is for education, I'm sure there's something error there, but you can clearly see that for level of education, we have a total figure of 50.2 coming from secondary school, vocational education, technical, the TVET, 50. So if you take 100 people, 50.2, because of their educational background, will vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We have 50.3 for non-formal education. But in terms of the total, 47.3, as against 45.1 for our former President Mahama. So that is the figure we have for education. In fact, it's interesting to know the background of these people that we are yet to be told. But I think we are aware. If we have a number like 50.1 from secondary cycle education supporting it, I think it speaks volumes of what we have witnessed in the recent years in the education sector. Projections for parliamentary candidate context. It is important also to know this. And we also gave a background in terms of those seats that are considered as safe. So if we have someone having 55% of the vote, is considered as a safe seat for that person or for that PC. So in terms of the parliamentary result, we have NDC having about 56 safe seats. 56 safe seats. That of MPP, per the result, we have 117 safe seats for the MPP. And that is the result that we have. So we have given you that of the presidential result. We are equally giving you that of the parliamentary also result. That if on that day that election was held, we have recorded 56 against 117 safe seats for MPP. Colleagues, it's important to summarize everything that we have said so far. Runoff, not too likely. Runoff, not too likely, even though possible. And I gave emphasis, reasons why we think we are not to have a runoff given the various parameters that I gave you. Then we have MPP Dr. Mahoma is currently leading the presidential race with 47.3. When we take the two items off, the result will change beyond 50%. NDC, Mr. John Mahama, is following closely with 44.7. Although we have other presidential candidates also contesting, and our focus will be on the two key, the traditional parties for now. They are part of the race, but I think the focus has been on these two individuals. On that note, we are grateful. The consultant to the IPG, we are grateful for your time, and we invite Dr. Boakye to take up the rest. Yeah, we'll come back in you.
Thank you very much. Near Canina, no, I said you're born a tougher kakra, na ewa your tree cassan mana come cassanimu. Emma Yenya no more. Omo edit tree did you man so a bit to me. I'll communicate and also bet my bot. Oman for no ombeti ho achira oman for no amaye enti ena no pay say ye frame na djuma ye de ne say eja ya kototo oman for ano ekọ bisa wono nsem bi say ene ye to aba na hena na obeto e de ama no na ye na ye de djuma hu chiame no ye miensa na yakan ho aboma ye de djuma hu chiame eno ti yetisi kromu no yene enipa ahodo 29,092 ena yedon ho etwetwe nkomo ekọ mpotem anase constituency 276 no yebo modern ekọ ebo apro ekọ ho no munyina na ebisa omo nsemfo bebre no yese wo hwe nipa yetoto omo no na about 13,965 no omo eye emema ena emo 15,064 no so omo ye ema ena wo hwe yi omo emfi omo dia bebre na edi between 25 ekosi to say 41 enti mu bebre enti osha emu bebre na chese emabru no edi mu entintinman ewo wono aye toto won ano no ensem bebre na ebisa amna megide se emrepa mu no se mo fraya betumi ni mu edi hu nkomo na ne hu hia pa ne se se ye kasa ye to aba no kopem eda ye de si wo se ye nhwehwemu ana se ye bisa amanfo ano no which is in October ebesi middle part of November no say ye to aba no within that period na nipa dodo say ene be to aba no ede ama NDC ene nipa dodo say na ebe to aba no so ede ama NPP say ye to aba na ham entichemu mienu na chiripo enkono ese ono de anhwa aba no on to bi ena oha entichemu mienu achiripo nsia no ombo se bia omo beto omo nsiada nsi omadwene pi na se oba yemma yadwene enko two main political parties no so that is NDC and NPP yenim say there are other ones though but yenim say since 1992 anko NDC ebeko NPP say ye to aba na wono a ye toto onano no oha entichemu aduanan na chiripo nson ese ombeto ama NDC ena oha nchichemu aduanan miensa na chiripo miensa aduanan nson na chiripo miensa ese ombeto ama NPP enti na kire se wo hwe nia omaye omadwene so ombeto ama NPP na omodoso echen NDC so there's more likely say enipa bebre na nkasa no ombetime ato omaba ama NPP but wonim se Ghana hanso se ye to aba gise wonya ohanchichemu adionum ene baako ansa na watumi ayede edi nkonim enti na kire se ye to aba na there's no direct win but yen nyina nim se wonya waagene se obeto na se won to kra na ye nkan wa aba emfa nka ho enti se ye yi oha nchichemu mienu na chiri ponkon ene oha nchichemu mienu na chiri ponsia no efri ma ne ye benya no eni kire se omampani abedi akiri a ogina ne oye franka 24 ema NPP no obenya oha nchichemu 50.2 which means as at between October and November no omampani abedi akiri Mahmoud Baumia as a wahure edi nkan a yeto aba na obetumi edi nkunim enunti na ye from na no pay a na nsemi na pese de to omanim ye de to manim parliamentary no so ye bo homodin ekeka ho nsem kakra na parliamentary no so o hwa ye ka ye wo bibia fa ne safe seat se NDC ana NPP o man ye campaign na so banko keka nsem kra na still o mbeto ama wo mo se ye hwe safe seat na NDC say omukura 56 and an MPP in Sukita 117 and the nasa ba parliamentary say na just aka 103 and no betima call afa betima call NDC betima call NPP into safe seat no senior yehunu enie enti yedamase ese enne anopayin so yeton safre omo maba na mone ye ababedi enkomo na maje yano disem so mobo hu dahro a chere Ghana fo nyina we will take about few questions if there's any to respond to it before we call it a day. So if you have a question, we have some few minutes to take about a couple of questions. Yes, sir.
My name is Maxwell from Onia TV.
Maxwell from Onia TV. And okay.
I want my question to be answered in English, so I want to ask in as well.
Pacho ATO. Yo, that's a pa. Enti ohwe ne mfoni a metwa na wa ha na ye kire bibi se ede ne wutremu ponti a wo de beto ama NDC anase NPP. Enti nyama bebre ese bi ka se ye sikasem cedi ne dollar mponto juma hospital any free SHS ne ade enti ye de bebre na gugu nkrata so ede ma omanfo na wo hwe mu a dodo na no energy school ko ho ne efre no education as free SHS no as bebre no agi atoma about 15.3% for hanchichemu edu enum na chiri pomiensa eno no say enam school konti anase free SHS nti ombebo modena na ombegina so e de ato aba ena so wo hwemu nso a ebi nso ese party we no ye wo mitumu o hanchichemu edu enson no omo se omo de party ne de twa omo fruma